Jesus. Project 2025 is Project 2025 is coming for us, y'all. Project 2025 is coming for us, y'all. It's coming specifically to black people. Jesus. It's gonna kill all of us. It's gonna get us, y'all. It's gonna wipe us all out. We're gonna have to join together, y'all. We're gonna have to bind this spirit of Project 2025. Raise your hands up. Stretch it to Trump Towers right now. Because we can't have Trump Project 2025 coming at us. They gonna come right for us, y'all. Lord Jesus, what are we gonna do? Well, I know it's one thing I'm gonna do. I am going to enjoy this delicious can of guava juice that I picked up from sambatree.com. In fact, it's 100% natural with no additives or preservatives. Pick yours up today at sambatree.com. But hey, hold on. Look under the video. I mean, like right now, you see all those little links down there? Yeah, you can click there and get started. It'll take you right to our shop. I think we're going to be all right. Okay, so I know that for some of y'all, you remember this movie, I'm Going to Get You Sucker, right? Well, there's this one part that immediately came to mind when I was thinking about this topic. And by the way, we've actually talked about this topic several times already on this platform, and I'll have the link somewhere here so you can go check out what we said on there. We're just expanding on what we've already said on this. But the movie I'm Gonna Get You Sucker came to my mind, and there's one particular scene that I would like to play for you, but you know, I may get in some trouble. So the way you can get around that is I can play the audio and I'm just going to show you a still. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So I want you to listen to it. Okay, so let me go ahead and roll that, and then we'll be right back.
How may I help you, my brother?
Look, I'm here because I can't stand what's happening in this community.
Yes.
Yeah, and somebody has to make a change.
Yes.
Now, brother, will you help me?
Yes. Well, I wish I could.
Damn it, man, I heard the People's Revolutionary Army was once 1,000 strong. Now, what happened?
They got government jobs.
What?
You know that government office building on 25th Street?
Yeah?
We went down to take it over. But they were hiring that day. The brothers walked in with guns. Came out with jobs. The brothers weren't mad anymore. Yes. Whitey is something else.
Okay, so now that you've seen that, what I want you to do is that we're going to put a bookmark there, okay? We're going to come back to that in a little bit. But now I want to show you another video, okay? Now, this video is, I think, the guy, whoever did this video, I thought they did a very good job. It's a very, in my opinion, is a very nonpartisan way of looking closer at exactly what Project 2025 is. And so we're going to look at the video. I probably won't play all of it because, again, you know, some people, they get a little funny if you play their entire video, but we'll see what I decide to do after the edits here. And but I'm going to play at least most of it. So I want you to take a real good listen to what he is saying here as it pertains to Project 2025 and what exactly it is. Let's roll that.
Project 2025, led by the Heritage Foundation, is a comprehensive initiative designed to prepare for a potential conservative administration starting in January 2025. It is structured around four main pillars: policy development, personnel recruitment, training, and strategic planning for the early days of the new administration. Here's a more detailed breakdown of each component. First, let's look at the policy agenda. The Conservative Promise is a detailed policy guide that provides specific recommendations for governing major federal agencies. The guide encompasses conservative solutions to various issues, including economic policies, healthcare, education, and national security. It is intended to serve as a blueprint for the next conservative administration, ensuring that key conservative values and strategies are implemented effectively from the outset. The second pillar is the personnel database. Project 2025 includes a comprehensive personnel database aimed at identifying and vetting potential appointees for various positions within the federal government. This database seeks to ensure that a future conservative administration has a pool of qualified, ideologically aligned individuals ready to fill key roles. The recruitment efforts span across different sectors and backgrounds, targeting experienced professionals who can execute the administration's agenda efficiently. The third part is the training through the Presidential Administration Academy. To prepare the identified personnel for their roles, Project 2025 has established the Presidential Administration Academy. This academy offers a range of training programs including workshops, seminars, online courses, and mentorship from former administration officials. The training is designed to equip future administrators with the necessary skills and knowledge to implement conservative policies effectively. Fourth is the 180-day playbook. The 180-day playbook is a strategic document outlining the immediate actions to be taken by the new administration within the first 180 days. This playbook is crafted to enable swift policy reversals and the implementation of conservative priorities, ensuring a smooth and impactful start. It includes specific actions for various departments and agencies, focusing on undoing the policies of the previous administration and setting the stage for long-term conservative governance. Now let's talk about the coalition and organizational structure. Project 2025 is supported by a coalition of over 100 conservative organizations, including think tanks, advocacy groups, and academic institutions. This broad coalition brings together diverse expertise and resources to support the project's goals. Notable participants include former officials from the Trump administration who contribute their experience and insights to the project. There are specific policy focus areas in Project 2025. Project 2025 proposes significant changes to federal policies on reproductive health. These include removing references to abortion from federal laws and regulations, reversing the approval of abortion pills, and defunding clinics that provide abortion or contraception services. The initiative also aims to reinstate the Comstock Act to ban mail-order abortions and reshape Medicaid to avoid funding reproductive health care services that include abortion. Another focus area is cultural and social issues. The project emphasizes the restoration of traditional family values and religious principles. This includes opposing policies perceived as supporting cultural Marxism and promoting a pro-life agenda. It advocates for policies that support the nuclear family, religious liberty, and traditional gender roles. There's also the leadership of Project 2025, which is directed by Paul Dans, a former chief of staff at the Office of Personnel Management during the Trump administration, with Spencer Sherteen serving as associate director. Both bring extensive experience from their previous roles in government, contributing to the strategic planning and execution of the project.
Okay, so basically, what he described is that Project 2025 is a conservative-based bureaucracy that is going to be more centrally controlled. Oh my God, that can't happen. We cannot have a bureaucracy in government. Oh my God, how can we cannot have this. We can't. Our government as it exists today is in fact one big bureaucracy. And as you continue to listen to this video, we're going to delve into some details that a lot of these people who are out here trying to scare you, into what this thing really is. You're going to see exactly what's going on. Now, before I continue, let me say this off the top, because some people, again, short memories, short whatever, right? Number one, I am not a Trump supporter. Number two, I do not care who you vote for, because there's two wings of the same bird. Okay. So I'm not pushing either candidate, but what we are doing is getting through all the crap, all the BS, and we're getting right to what this thing really is. And will it really have that much of an impact on your life as people are trying to claim that will happen. Okay. So that's what this is all about. Okay, so there are a few things that I want you to kind of, we're going to line all of this stuff up. Okay. I want you to understand. Okay. And just hopefully you just follow along with me on that. Okay. Because again, we're talking a bureaucracy. Okay. The conservatives say, hey, listen, we got our own brand of bureaucracy that we want to bring in. A lot of people are running scared and trying to pretend as if the federal government doesn't have an existing bureaucracy. It actually does. And black people, yes, play a very significant role in that bureaucracy. OK, so let's get started here in understanding that. Oh, what do you mean we do? OK, number one, when you're talking about the federal government within the Washington, D.C. area. All right. Who is the largest employer of black Americans in the Washington, D.C. area? It's the federal government. The federal government is the largest employer of black Americans in the Washington, D.C. area. It's a very, very, very significant role that they play. If the federal government was to crash and burn, there'll be a lot of black people who would not have jobs. The second thing that you got to keep in mind is what? Black people, we tend to vote which way? For which party do black people tend to vote for? Democrats. Okay. So here you have a significant amount of people employed by the federal government who happen to be Democrats. So it's safe to say that a good percentage of the employees that work for the federal government are in fact Democrats. We're just looking at Republicans. We're just looking at black folks in this particular case. But if you open it up wider, you're going to see a significant number of employees tend to lean left. OK, if that's not a bureaucracy, I don't know what exactly is. And I'll try to have the percentages and up here. They say at least 70%. I think it's like close to 70% of federal employees contribute financially to the Democrats. 70%. OK, again, if that's not a bureaucracy, I don't know what is. So you got around 70% or so of federal employees. They contribute financially to the people on the left. All right. So that's another thing you got to keep in mind. Naturally, anybody coming along and saying, hey, listen, we want to put a stop to that and we want to bring in our own bureaucracy that's going to reverse that. And so instead of it going your way, we want it going our way. So naturally, the people who have already been there, they're going to push back on that. And they're going to say, we like it how it is right now. You're not going to come in and destroy what we got. This has been a good thing going for a very long time. So it makes a lot of sense, don't it? That there's going to be some significant pushback to Project 2025 because you're basically disrupting the apple cart, basically. Another thing to keep in mind is this, is that we've talked about this before. Black folks, when you look at all the different demographics in the United States, Black Americans are the most faithful when it comes to church going or church attendance and prayer. OK, so religion is something that we rank very high on a personal level. OK, I think we can all agree to that. However, when you compare that to our loyalty and our dedication to the federal government, there's no comparison. Why do I say that? Because, again, if you have this demographic that is pretty much bought in for Democrats, right? And Democrats oftentimes will push legislation that does contradict with what the Bible says when it comes to issues like LGBT, when it comes to issues like abortion and all of that. Black folks who fit into this demographic of being federal workers, are church going people, when they go Sunday, they may scream and shout when it comes to, before I was in my mother's womb, he knew me and all that stuff. Right. And then, in the beginning, God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve and all of that stuff. Right. We're saying that on Sunday, but on Monday, it's the total opposite. You're pushing all these different pieces of legislation that contradicts what you say is important and is a central piece to your belief system. So as I was just touching on earlier, a lot of these employees, they're not going to vote against their own personal interest. I hope you're following me in what I'm saying here. Let me say that again. People by nature, it doesn't matter what color you are, you're not going to vote against your own interest. Okay? Let me say that one more time because I want to make sure you get it. People by nature are not going to vote against their own interests. So I don't care what you're coming to the table with. If it's something that may jeopardize my own job and my, tenure or whatever like that, I'm not going to vote again. I'm not going to be for that. I'm going to be against that big time. So for these select black folks who fall into this demographic of being federal workers, it's about self-preservation above everything else. And what is everything else? The greater black community. See, the thing is, when you have black people who are this close to the federal government at this level, where you're willing to step over your own stated spiritual belief system, when you have black people who operate like that, then it's no longer a mystery to understand why is it so difficult for us as a people to have a calm and sane conversation or conversations on politics. Because when you're dealing with someone who's literally married to the system, it's a matter of time before the conversation turns very agitated and it gets very personal, because it is a very personal thing for a lot of people. Now you understand why I showed that clip that I showed you earlier. Well, I played the audio from I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. What did he say? They all got government jobs. He said they went down there. They recognized who the enemy was. And, it was the government, the U.S. government, and said, we're going to go down there. We're going to tear things up. But they went down there and realized, oh, snap, they're hiring. Oh, okay, well, let me get me a job. And that's what happened. So you got a lot of these individuals who may have started off understanding, okay, we got to draw a clear line between us and the government. They may have started like that. But then what happened was a lot of people, and this is a true story. I mean, it was in a movie, but it's a true story. A lot of our people, a lot of our revolutionaries, so-called, once they found out and saw that the government was doing this massive amount of hiring, a lot of these individuals went and became part of the system, the very system that we are complaining about today. So let me give you another example. When we talk about, let's say, the Civil Rights Bill, I want you to look very closely at the Civil Rights Bill. The Civil Rights Bill was never, ever, ever a black bill. Okay, let me say that again. The Civil Rights Bill, or the Civil Rights Act, I should say, was never a bill that was designed exclusively for black people. You will not see that anywhere within the act. When you read the text as is, it's mentioning color, which is a very broad spectrum. It's mentioning people's age. It mentions sex. It mentions people's backgrounds and then mentions something, and that's it. But it was not a bill that was exclusively for black people. Now, this is where the trick comes in. This is how we fell for the trick bag. Okay? I hope you follow me with this. So what this system did is said, listen, we want you, okay, black folks, you want to be treated like everybody else? Okay, fine. What we're going to do is that we're going to shackle you to all of these other interest groups. So now anytime when you're out here and you're protesting and you're screaming and you're shouting, for your rights, just know that every time you do that, you are also going to be screaming and shouting and protesting for the rights of LGBT. You're going to be shouting and screaming for the rights of people from immigrants. You're going to be shouting and screaming for the rights of white women who feel like they're being mistreated because of their sex. You're going to be and all the other groups too. So this is what happened with the Civil Rights Act. The reason why you had MLK and all of these other black people there at the signing of the Civil Rights Act was because at that moment, we were the leaders of protesting against the government. Okay. And so we were, in essence, the window dressing for this whole entire bill. Okay. But it was not something that was designed exclusively for black people. So the bureaucracy that came into play at that time supported this very act that we are today complaining about. When we talk about how immigrants are, can come into this country illegally, I don't think for the most part, we don't have any issue with those that come into the country legally. It's the ones that come in illegally that are being given all of these different goodies and treats at the expense of the taxpayer.
Are y'all lying to us? Because, see, we know that the budget stated that you guys spent $400 million on the migrants who are illegal immigrants last year. The city is currently in a $235 million deficit, which means that you guys overspent the budget to pay for people who have not paid any taxes.
That's the issues that we having right now. Well, that all falls under this civil rights stuff, right? They push that in there. When you talk about DEI, I brought this up many, many times before. DEI, what you're creating with DEI is a brand new class of competitors. Okay, that's a whole nother situation where now black women who are championing DEI, what they don't realize is that by championing it, you are also championing those very people that are now going to be competing against you for the same jobs. What do I mean by that? For example, any man can just wake up one day and say, you know what? I want to be a woman. I identify as a black woman. So now you're going to have one job and you have a black woman who's fully qualified and wants to get that job. And then you're going to have somebody else who may be white, they may be Polish, they may be whatever, and say, I identify as a black woman. Well, guess what? They're going to look at that person as such. And so now, black woman, you're going to be competing against an old man in a dress. This is what the bureaucracy that's already existing has been pushing. All right. The system that we talk about when we're talking about like in the 70s, for example, when it talks about the welfare, the welfare system that encouraged families, that rewarded families where there wasn't a father in the home. OK, this was a policy by the existing bureaucracy to push that where single mothers were being rewarded because the father wasn't in the home. All right. This existing bureaucracy pushed that, and it caused major mayhem within the black community. When we look at Katrina, for example, this existing bureaucracy was responsible for the handling of how black people were treated during Katrina. When we look at school funding, for example, we can look at how the school funding, even past Brown versus Board of Education, how even today still there's an ongoing issue when it comes to school funding, public school funding. Again, we can thank the existing bureaucracy for that. I know it's easy for us to say, well, it's the Republicans, and then the Republicans say the Democrat. It doesn't matter. Whoever's in office, they should have the control to be able to at least push it in the right direction. And as far as history is concerned, neither one has done a good job at doing that at all. And we have to be honest here. Since 2009, the Democrats have been in control of the White House for 4 years times plus 4. That's 8. That's Obama's 2 terms in office, right? That's 8 years. Then you add, then after him was Trump. That's 4 years, right? And then after Trump came who? Biden. So you're looking at 12 years that Democrats have been in control of the White House. And in those 12 years, we're still complaining about things that haven't been done. And what's their response? Well, it's because of the 4 years of Trump. And another thing that we must consider is the fact that you have the Obamas and the Clintons still have the federal government. They have many surrogates all throughout the federal government. In other words, if they want to do something, if they want to push certain things, certain agendas, it's a phone call away. They still have many surrogates throughout the federal government. So anybody that's out here trying to make it seem like he's just out there in Martha's Vineyard, just chilling, and the Clintons, they're just kind of old and they're just sitting around doing, they can pick up a phone just like that. And they can, if whatever it is they want to get on and cracking in Washington, D.C., they can get it done very quickly. And that includes their surrogates within the press. So for anybody to say that there isn't a pre-existing, like we haven't been living in a bureaucracy all of this time, they are not being historically or factually honest. They're not. And it's this existing bureaucracy that's causing a lot of black voters to say, hold on for a second. Now, we got a ton of receipts when it comes to this bureaucracy, when it comes to how we've been treated and how we're noticing that for every term, we're being pushed further and further and further down the line when it comes to our needs and our rights and the things that we deserve. And this go around, we have seen and witnessed firsthand how quickly these individuals have turned on a dime for most of Kamala Harris's campaign, how quickly they started off attacking black men who didn't want to vote for her for their reasons. And quickly you had gay men and you had black women who were on the front lines attacking black men. Now, all of a sudden, when the polls are starting to change and they're not looking too good for her, now all of a sudden they're sending out the surrogates once again to try to appeal to black men and trying to have some mature conversations. But they have passed that mark too late. It's too late for that now. Black people now are starting to wake up and realize, wait a minute, we're going to have to start drawing the line when it comes to how we are identified in this country. You know, when we say black American, we got to make sure we are defining that clearly. That doesn't include people coming from Jamaica. That doesn't include people coming from the continent of Africa. That shouldn't include people coming from Panama or Ecuador or Brazil or anything like that. There's a distinct class that has been here from day one. We need to focus on them primarily. Then all these other groups need to get in line just like everybody else. And so because the existing bureaucracy has been pushing this agenda where they're ignoring us, now what's happening is people are starting to wake up and people are looking for other options. Now, is that to say that what the Republicans are proposing when it comes to their Project 2025 is the better option? I don't think so. I think a bureaucracy is a bureaucracy is a bureaucracy. And I'm probably mispronouncing it or not saying it the way you want me to say it. But yeah, it's the same thing. In other words, the system itself stinks. Do you understand what I'm saying? It doesn't matter who's running it. Just because you got if you got an old car, I'm old enough to remember in the 80s, there was a small car that came out. It was manufactured in Yugoslavia at what was called Yugoslavia at that time. And it was called the Yugo. Okay. This is I think they were selling at that time for $3,000. You could get it brand new. Now, it doesn't matter if I get behind that wheel or if you got a professional driver that gets behind that wheel, it's not going to transform that car into a Lamborghini. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to begin to see the government, the system that we're in right now as just that. It's not going to hocus pocus and change simply because you got a different driver at the front. It's not going to change. The system in of itself was corrupted from the very beginning. So to understand Project 2025, listen, it doesn't take a super long video. I don't have to show you pages and pages and pages of what they're proposing and what could happen and all this other stuff. You don't need to look at all of that. You can if you want. All right. Because I always encourage people, hey, you need to read the details. You need to read the fine print. But it's very interesting. The same people that are saying this about Project 2025 aren't encouraging individuals to look at the fine print of what we already have in existence right now. So as it pertains to black people's participation in this whole thing that we're talking about here, well, now you got black people on two sides of the fence. You got one group of black people who are saying, hey, listen, they don't have anything to do with the system. They're not intertwined with the system in any way, right? They're just regular American citizens. They're saying, listen, I have been in this country for many, many years, and I'm seeing how my rights and the things that I deserve to have and the things I deserve to have access to, I'm noticing how we're just getting lost in the sauce. I don't like that. Because if we can be very specific when it comes to Jews, if we can be very specific when it comes to the Ukraine and some of these other groups that come over here and send their people over here, people coming from Mexico, we should also have a separate and unique policies for black Americans. All right. And so you got that group of people that are standing on their square and they're saying enough is enough. But you also have this other group of people who are literally employed by the federal government, and they are so bought in to the policies of the federal government, the very system that's been pushing all of these things. They're so bought into it, they're not going to change their minds. And it just so happens these are the individuals that are helping to keep this engine, this existing engine, running in the direction that it's going in right now. So this is why they have a lot of their surrogates out here on social media that's trying to let me school the black people on this and let you understand. I'm going to go down and I'm going to show you just how racist these people are. What they're really saying is we're trying to preserve and save our jobs, because we work too hard to maintain status quo, and you're not going to come and break up our status quo. But regular black people outside of the Beltway are saying, no, we need to break up the status quo because it's the status quo that's keeping us in status quo, and enough is enough. All right. So just a recap here. So I hope you guys got something out of this. So what we're saying here is that you got two bureaucracies that we're dealing with here. There's one that's already pre-existing that has been pushing all of these policies that we have been living through and experiencing up to this point. We got a whole library of receipts to prove what that bureaucracy has been able to produce. All right. And then we also unraveled the fact that you have in this bureaucracy, black people have played a very key role in maintaining the status quo. And they're so committed to maintaining the status quo that they will overstep their own Christian spirituality to maintain it. All right. So this is how the status quo black folks are committed. They're very committed to this. And then on the flip, you got the conservative side who's saying, you know what? The way you guys have been running DC, we see how you guys are doing this now. So we're going to start focusing on getting under the hood so that we're controlling just like you guys are doing. And so we're going to bring in our own, people and all that so we can have that kind of control as well. And so, like I said earlier, am I saying that the conservative option is better? No, I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that what we've had in existence for a long time, it certainly has not been working well for black folks. It's only been benefiting and profiting those who are married to the system. And if you are a black person and you are a federal worker, then yes, you are in fact married to the very system that has been keeping black people, black Americans in general, at a state of perpetual status quo. So I hope you got something out of this video. I would be very interested to hear your thoughts about this topic. Just put it in the comments below. And like I said earlier, we've actually talked about this topic before. In the meantime, the other thing I want to mention is unrelated. At the time of this recording, we have been talking about the hurricanes that are going down in Florida. So make sure you check out that video. And we went live earlier today. I'll be going live probably again on the aftermath. So we'll be updating people on that. Please make sure you check back often, because when things like this happen, we try to keep our people updated and not just talking about it, but providing some practical solutions. We got videos where we just spend all day just talking about that, not just pointing out what the government didn't do. No, we got to start putting together, amassing our own personal resources so that we can provide our own solutions. And we demonstrate that time and time and time and time again on this platform. So if you like to know more about that, I would invite you to subscribe so you can stay in the loop. All right. Thank you again for tuning in. You guys take care, and I'll see you again soon.